First thing, yes, I've already made a video about this watch, but I've never been pleased with the depth or the quality of that video. So here we are, take 2. This of course is the Rolex Submariner 16610LV. That LV in the reference stands for Lunette Verte, which in English means green bezel. And this green bezel is only one of several things that make this Submariner very special. The 16610LV is also known as the 50th Anniversary Edition, and it was first produced in 2003 to mark the 50th anniversary of the first Rolex Submariner. There's a debate about which Submariner reference number was first, 6204 or 6205, but one thing is pretty clear. Since its launch, with whatever reference number it had, the Submariner has become perhaps the most iconic watch of all time. But about that green, if you didn't know, green is the official brand color of Rolex. Rolex often uses green for special editions of their watches. For example, the Day-Date 60th anniversary reference has a green dial, they call it olive green. And the GMT Master anniversary reference has a green dial as well. As far as I can tell, this watch, the 16610LV, was the first watch in Rolex lineup to use green for an anniversary. The LV is also known unofficially as the Kermit, as a reference to everyone's favorite singing stuffed frog. And the Kermit is not to be confused with the Hulk, which I've also made a video about. The Hulk followed the Kermit when the Kermit was discontinued in 2010. The differences are myriad, but an easy tell is that the Kermit has a black dial and the Hulk has a green dial. But again, there are plenty of other differences like the bracelet, the case style, and the bezel insert material. During its 7-year run, the Kermit saw several minor changes. All of these changes were small and, from what I can tell, merely aesthetic. For example, earlier versions had what is called a flat 4 on the bezel. That means that the 4 in the number 40 on the bezel had a flatter top than the pointed 4 in later versions. Look at the 40 on the bezel. The 4 here is flat, and here it's pointed. It seems silly, but actually, it's really good to know. If you're in the market for one of these watches, you'll want to make sure that the reference number matches with some of these minor visual differences. If there's a discrepancy, either the watch is not fully original or it's entirely fake. In the description for this video, I've linked to what I think is the best resource on some of these minor differences. The webpage breaks down into different years and what changes were present in each year. Consider this resource a buyer's guide. I certainly did. At the time the 16610LV was released, it was not universally praised. In fact, it was a very divisive watch. Many enthusiasts thought that the green sullied the purity of the Submariner, a watch that had seen little change and almost no color in its 5 decades. And the green wasn't the only change. The markers and hands got larger with this reference. The standard black 16610 Submariner that was produced at the same time had older, more traditional hands and markers, as you can see here. As a result, the Kermit's dial earned the name Maxi Dial. Again, if you want to check the authenticity of a Kermit, first thing is to make sure that the hands and markers are large. There was a time when people were sticking green bezel inserts on regular subs, but they usually failed to change the dial and hands. Dead giveaway. So what about these days? It's been 15 years since the LV made its debut and 8 since it was discontinued. and each year the demand for this watch seems to grow. Rolex Submariners are classics for good reason. They're tough, handsome, impeccably built, and historic. But they're also fairly commonplace, which is why a transitional watch like the Kermit, made for a limited time, is so attractive to someone like me. It has everything I love about subs with a little something extra. I think the 16610LV, the Kermit, is a modern classic, but more importantly, it's a watch I really enjoy wearing.